Hi, I'm Auntie Dawn. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'd like to talk about staying safe in the kitchen. It's easy to get hurt in the kitchen, really easy. I've done it a lot of times, and not just slicing your finger with a butter knife. People get killed in the kitchen all of the time, and you deserve to be safe while you're making food. First of all, fresh air is important. It's really important when the alternative is fumes. So, especially before you start up a gas cooker, please open a window and turn on a vent fan. That establishes a flow of fresh air so cooking fumes never get a chance to accumulate. It's also a good idea to set up that ventilation before you start even an electric cooker, because all cooking can lead to dangerous gases. Your kitchen probably has a vent fan, like the one that's here above my kitchen. It's pretty loud when you turn it on, but I can actually feel the airflow. If your vent fan doesn't make you feel a vent flow, if you don't see the fumes rising up through it and going not just out of your kitchen, but out of your house entirely, there are some not to code vent fans that might vent into a different part of the house. Um, that's something that you're going to want to have a professional look at and get brought up to code, because that can be really dangerous. If you have a vent fan, but it doesn't work, it's probably dirty. Try taking it apart and cleaning it. You'll want to use good gloves and a degreaser, because what has probably happened is that it's gotten so caked up with cooking grease and food particles that the parts that are supposed to move aren't moving anymore. It's going to be a gross process. You might have to throw out the screens if they're too dirty to clean. It's a good idea to regularly wash them. I do it in the dishwasher because I think it would be really difficult to do it any other way. They should be cheap, though, to replace if that's necessary. And it's easier to keep two sets on hand so that when it's necessary to pull them out and clean them, you don't have to wait for the dishwasher to run and the things to dry before you can start cooking again. If your house doesn't have a vent fan and you don't have any way of getting one, you might have to get creative. If you can open a window on either side of your cooking area and then have, if you've got a breeze, that's one thing, but you might need to add a fan just to make sure that those fumes are constantly leaving your cooking space so they're not building up and you're not breathing them in. If your air quality is bad enough that you don't want to ventilate your kitchen, you can cook outside. If you've got a grill, you can take a rice cooker outside or an electric pressure cooker. These are all things you can use to cook outside while you have a good mask on. But if for some reason you can't do that, I recommend restricting your inside cooking to the microwave. After air, the next most important thing is water, hydration. You've got to stay drinking. Keep your drinking water right at hand. You don't want to have to go in the other room or to be constantly filling up a cup. Keep it on hand and keep drinking. It is really easy to dry out while you're working in a hot kitchen, or a cold kitchen for that matter. Keep yourself hydrated. If you get dehydrated, that can lead to bad decisions that can lead to you getting hurt. It's much easier to cook in a clean, well-organized kitchen. If you have too much equipment and supplies for your kitchen, please get rid of it until what you have left fits. If you can establish a pantry someplace else in your house, that's great. But if not, it's better to get rid of that stuff than to have it always in your way. You'll enjoy cooking so much more if you don't have to be hunting for clear counter space or knocking your elbow on those bags of bulk beans. And before you start any kitchen project, please do the dishes. If the sink is full of dirty dishes, you are not going to start. If your sink is full of dishes, then the ones that you create in your cooking project won't have any place to go. They'll have to pile up. And then if you've got a sink full of dirty, soapy dishes, you're much more likely to splash soapy water someplace it shouldn't go, probably right into your prepped ingredients at the worst moment possible. And nothing tastes worse than soap. Well, almost nothing tastes as bad as soap. If your cooking is going to produce a hot pan, you need hot pads to handle it. They need to be clean and dry and within reach of your stove. See, I keep mine right over the stove there. It means I've got to reach over the stove, but it is the only place I can keep them. A wet hot pad is a hazard in the kitchen. You need to put it into the laundry immediately. This is why you should always have extra clean, dry ones that you can pull out if one gets dirty. Because as soon as that wet hot pad touches a hot pan, that water becomes steam and will steam cook your hand. Ask me how I know. So please keep a good supply of clean, dry hot pads in your kitchen. So the next thing is clothing. It's best to be covered up while we're cooking. You never quite know what is going to splatter. Natural fibers are best because plastic fibers can melt against your skin. If you've never accidentally had a sleeve snag onto a pot of something hot and drag it off onto the floor, then I can't recommend the experience. All right, my last thing is hunger. Most of the time when I've made a dumb mistake and hurt myself cooking, it was because I was hungry and rushing to make food. So now, right in the cupboard next to the stove, I keep a jar of peanuts and a jar of pumpkin seeds. And if I'm hungry when I start cooking, I just stop and have a handful. A handful of nuts is a healthy snack, and that keeps me from making any dumb decisions. I've never had it spoil my meal because I always burn up all that energy cooking, but it keeps me from crashing and dropping the plates just as I'm serving, or some other mistake I'd really rather not make. A lot of this comes down to valuing yourself. You are important. Your foot is important, so don't use it to stop that knife from dropping to the floor. The knife is a tool that can be replaced. You are a person who is irreplaceable. I hope this helps you stay safe as much as it does me. I'll see you next time.